Hello and welcome to In Focus, where we continue our countdown of this year's biggest stories. For decades, mankind has pondered life on Mars. When the Curiosity rover landed on the red planet in 2012, answers to that question were a lot closer. But on September 28th of this year, NASA made one of the biggest steps towards one of space's greatest questions, confirming the existence of liquid water on Mars. It may not have been a river or even a tiny stream, but streaky, briny water exists. Should we one day find that extraterrestrial life exists not only outside in the universe, but in our own solar system, we may look at our own planet in a whole new light.
This morning, the Supreme Court recognized that the Constitution guarantees marriage equality.
There were plenty of negatives throughout 2015, but we did make progress in some areas. Equal rights was a huge focus this year, and in May, Ireland became the first country in the world to vote for same-sex marriage by way of popular vote. The response was overwhelming, and the result sent waves around the globe. Suddenly the topic was on everyone's lips, and on June 26th, the US Supreme Court ruled that marriage equality was open to all across the country. The hashtag #LoveWins became ubiquitous, and Facebook celebrated with a special Celebrate Pride filter for your display photo. Just a week into the new year, two brothers set the pace for what would be a bumper year for terrorism. Armed with assault rifles and other weapons, they stormed the offices of French satirical newspaper Charlie Hebdo, killing 11 people and injuring 11 others before murdering a police officer outside the building. The attack galvanized the Western world. The hashtag Je suis Charlie trended globally. 40 world leaders met in Paris for a rally of national unity, and more than 3.5 million people joined demonstrations across France. Charlie Hebdo continued publishing. The following issue print ran nearly 8 million copies in 6 languages, compared to its typical 60,000 solely in French. It was a defiant stand against the scourge of terrorism, but as we know, it wouldn't be the last attack Paris would see in 2015.
So let's be clear about this. Our company was dishonest with the EPA and the California Air Resources Board.
It was a scandal unbecoming of its creator. When discrepancies were found in Volkswagen's emissions tests, many dismissed the idea. For so long, the world's second biggest car company had been the pinnacle of the industry, reliable, efficient, and at the forefront of innovation. But very soon, the whole picture became clear. The pride of Germany had been systematically cheating standardized emissions tests with so-called defeat devices. Vehicles were able to detect when they were being tested and would produce far fewer emissions than they would in real-world driving. The company lost a third of its value in 2 days. Group CEO Martin Winterkorn resigned in disgrace, and $7.3 billion was set aside to rectify the issue. It's a long road back from here to positive brand recognition for the people's car. Each year, Mother Nature seems to throw us a hugely destructive natural disaster, and this year was no exception. In April, Nepal suffered a violent earthquake, triggering avalanches, flattening villages, and taking lives. Nearly 9,000 people died, including at least 22 on Everest, when one of the avalanches tore through base camp. This amateur footage shows the terrifying moment one of those snow slides passed over campers, though the cameraman managed to survive. But after every natural disaster, the world comes together. The outpouring of aid was again significant, with hundreds of millions of dollars and countless supplies donated from around the world. Natural disasters may be inevitable, but so too is the compassion of humankind. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week when we continue our countdown of the world's top stories in 2015.